Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 11 of our 12 Days of Copilot series. Pleasure to be on here as we go into automation in action, really from purchasing to reconciliation, exploring how Dynamics agents can streamline everyday tasks to really drive real world efficiency in your organization. So, looking forward today to be with somebody else as I'm going to introduce in just a quick second here to kind of go through some of the different types of agents that we have inside of Dynamics 365. One thing I just want to kind of highlight here is this week's charity spotlight. It hits really close to home. This is with Moorhead Legacy. We've got the Mike Gasp Memorial Scholarship. Mike was a fantastic gentleman. I loved his leadership at our organization. He was an awesome father. But what we're doing here is for obviously every attendee, we donate $5 towards this cause that Mike was really passionate about. So with that, please spread more of this around to other people so that they can join, so that we can give more, obviously, to the Moorhead Legacy Education Foundation. And with that, I want to just quickly introduce who's going to be doing the session today. It's going to be me covering some of the F&O and also the Dynamics 365 CE agents, but we also have our Mr. Marcus Hogg here, our team manager for our pre-sales team at Stone Ridge Software. So Marcus brings a depth of information and background. He's been in the industry for quite some time, so I'm sure he's itching to kind of show you all the capabilities inside of BC with that. And with that, let's go ahead and have Marcus present his screen. And go ahead, Marcus, and unwrap this
Hey,
wonderful Copilot tip today.
hey Scott, good to see you. Been a while. Nice
Yeah, it
to
has been.
nice to do a session with you. So wanted to just show some of the features that are inside of Business Central out of the box, really. We could talk about development in another session, but just really out of the box. And I actually want to start with the sales order window, and I want to just open up a sales order. So Microsoft is, I think, giving us some examples of how Copilot and how agents can be used inside of an ERP system. So you can actually build additional agents if you wanted to build additional Copilot functionality in the system. But I wanted to show you what they're providing out of the box. And the first one is really on the sales order line that I want to talk about. And they've added two pieces of functionality here. The first one is suggest sales lines. So I'd say the customer let's see, maybe looking for coffee from South America. So it allows us to use English language essentially to query your item database, if you think of it that way. So
Right.
I'm not sure what it means or what I'm looking at or what, maybe there's a bunch of attributes or something like that on the inventory items that I want to search for. This is obviously pretty simple, but it would allow you to search. Of course, it doesn't work in my demo because there is a Brazilian coffee that showed up a little while ago when I tested this, and I'm getting paper coffee cups. But you get the idea, the ability to really use plain English language to query your database. The other component is suggest lines from files. So the scenario here would be, customer sends you a file that's got a whole bunch of inventory items in it. You don't want to key those things in. You want to just quickly import those. So this is it's a quick file import, if you will, but it just gives you an example of how we could leverage Copilot. I love this summary window. If you're familiar with the Dynamics CE product lines, you've seen summary for quite a while. This has been added to Business Central. So throughout the application, you'll get these summary windows on master records, on transactions, providing you a summary background information around the record you're on. So I really like this with inventory and projects particularly. It's giving you a lot of background information on that. The other one that we've had for a little while, it doesn't really apply to a whole lot of people necessarily that maybe within an organization, but I think it's extremely functional. And that's really the ability to do bank reconciliation with Copilot. So if you've got, dates and you've got, maybe some nuanced differences between a bank file and, the transactions that are in the system, it's really going to help speed up that reconciliation process. So again, doesn't apply to a whole lot of people in the organization, but I think it's extremely functional in terms of an example of how you can leverage Copilot to make your life easier. In terms of agents, we have two that are available, and they're going to show up here right on top of that main window. And the first agent that I like to talk about is the sales order agent. And the design or the use case here is you are communicating with a customer via email. So out of the box, it's looking at an email box. Customer sends an email. They want to buy a product. They're asking about a product. They'd like more information. The agent can read that email and then prompt you to say, well, it looks like this particular customer wants to buy a particular product. Do you want to create a sales quote? Do you want to create a sales order? The agent then creates the sales order, creates the sales quote for you. So if you think about time again doing data entry, you're not doing those mundane tasks. The agent can also communicate with the customer. So wants to send an email with the quote, send an email with the sales order over to the customer, so you don't have to do that. It'll draft an email in the body of the email as well to communicate with the customer. So time, speeding up data entry and just really facilitating the communication. The really fun one, I think, is the purchase or the payables agent. And really what this is OCR, so optical character recognition built into the product. So out of the box functionality Microsoft is now providing. Once again, we're monitoring an inbound email. So maybe you take a vendor sends you an invoice and I forward it to an email box, or the vendor sends it directly to that email box. The agent's going to view it and it's going to pick up that document for you, and it's going to create I've got an example here. It's going to create a purchase invoice for you. And it's also going to include that document attachment. So if you're doing inbound documents, I don't have to save it. It's going to do that for me. Once again, does all the data entry, allows me to review it, and then create the purchase invoice. The next version coming in the wave release, a little preview, is going to allow you to do PO matching, which I think is really exciting from a distribution perspective. So just a quick look at a couple of things that are available in Business Central.
That's really cool, Marcus. Like, it just shows like how much further they're getting from just not just automation inside of the application, but also building out agents that can automate these processes for you, which is really cool, right? The OCR capabilities, for example, like we play around with it obviously with purchase invoice, but we could do that with checks. We could do that with pretty much any document, right? And we're actually doing that with a couple customers right now as well, on the CE side, where we're going to be taking, for example, submissions that they do inside of paperwork and then transform those into digital records. So really cool, Marcus. Awesome. I guess with that, Bree, if you can flip over to my screen, and I'll kind of bring us to the last portion of this. So obviously, Marcus was going over the Business Central capabilities, and we want to show then on the F&O side, obviously, some of that Copilot experience as well. Now, in a prior session, we've gone through and covered some of those basics when it comes to, for example, some of the workspaces that we interact with that allow for us to go through and do some of that processing, such as the confirmed purchase order changes. And this is really cool. Kappa management, Marcus. I just saw that kind of pop up in our environment lately. So with that, though, if I go into agents, just to kind of show you what the agents are that are inside of finance and operations, really there are three primary agents that we can interact with. One of them is already activated, which is why it's not on the list. But the other two inside of here are, for example, sending follow-up emails to suppliers, and then also sending updates to internal staff regarding purchase order changes. So this is a really interesting concept, because what we're doing is we're trying to basically make it so that if you've got like an info at StoneRidge Software, or AP at StoneRidge Software, or orders or PO at stoneridgesoftware.com, what you can do is you can set up basically a supplier communication agent to either send from that or even then monitor inbox emails that are coming through. So in this example, for a distribution-based environment, you can have it draft up delayed purchase orders. So purchase orders that may be supplying manufacturing orders or supplying sales orders. Basically, they're pegged to some type of demand source inside of the system. And basically what you can do is you can have it go through and then generate an email that then says, hey, where's our product at, so to speak, automatically inside of the system. The other capability inside of here is that you can actually go ahead and then set up the follow-up emails, or excuse me, the speed up in the supplier communication agent area. You can basically state that when a vendor sends an email to a particular email address, so if I did like scottf@stoneridgepresales.com, I could basically then activate that to show then a summary of changes that occur with it. So that way then it's sending basically summary information as to any of these purchase orders that may change in the environment. And then the last one that they've added inside of here, if I click on the back and we just go into our Copilot section in here as it was activating, and we'll just kind of cancel it. What we also have is this account reconciliation concept as an agent that's been introduced into here. So as an example,
I like this one a lot.
right? This one's really
Yeah.
cool. So as an
Yeah.
example, if I just take a quick look at this one, what you can do is you can configure it to suggest mitigation actions that are related to it. And here's the really cool thing that it does. So if I go into my reconciliation area for this, what I should be able to do is look at my account reconciliation workspace that's inside of here. And then from there, if I go to a period that has reconciliation data in our demo environment, so I think period 4 is the one I found where it has some exceptions in here as well. What it will do is it will basically go through and check the bank account, the accounts payable, the accounts receivable, and the tax ledger and compare them to the general ledger for a tie out. It'll then identify, for example, what those exceptions are so that you can drill into it and you can understand, well, why is this here but not inside of the subledger, for example? So this is just an example then of just making it easier then for tie out
Yeah.
processes inside of your environment. And Marcus, my guess, we're going to see this inside of Business Central in the future. Like
I think
this
so
is a
too. Yeah.
right. This is a really handy one for expediting speed as you go through processing. Now, the
Yeah.
other product I just want to show just really quickly here. So those are some of the ones that we typically interact with. The only other one here is going to be if I go back to agent just really quickly here, follow-up emails, for example, for the supplier communication agent that's inside of here. If I click on that right now, I think Joe has ran a couple of these, so they're not associated with my login. So I'll clear that out. But you can see that we have some products that have been delayed, and it went through and then generated the content around that, the purchase order, the confirmed receipt date, and then sent that from Joe's email address as one of our purchasers inside of our demo environment. So once again, just making it go faster for you.
Yeah.
One of the key learnings I think people just need to really hold on to is that this is why agents don't take over everything inside of your environment. They just help you go typically 20 to 30% faster, which is really why we call Copilot Copilot. Now, the only other one I want to show just really quickly here. Inside of Dynamics 365 Sales, there are some really cool agents, and there's a really cool way that you can actually go through and then configure these agents as well. So I've got my super close agent that I created, and I just want to show you what I mean by that. So inside of Dynamics 365 Sales, you have the ability to set up either what we call a sales qualification agent or a sales close agent. And so if I did, like, for example, a sales qualification agent, what I can do is I can have it set up so that it can, for example, research lead information, draft outreach emails, identify lead fit based on research results that are identified as part of it. But I can also check mark, for example, the engage capability with it, where it can then send personalized emails to these leads. It can follow up and respond to customer questions based upon inbox configuration that you have inside of the environment. And basically, you can set this up then to then go through really that processing from a qualification perspective inside of your organization. So it just provides a lot of overhead maintenance for selling teams as you go through that. The other one I want to kind of mention here is this concept as well as a close agent. So if I look at my sales close agent, I can prioritize high value deals, and I can surface the inside information from CRM inside of emails on the web or internal knowledge, and I can automate those outbound email based sales engagement communications. And if I select that one as an example, what I can do is I can actually, not that one, sorry. If I create that and I go to qualification agent, if I go to this, what I can do is I can basically go through and then configure it as I click around here a little bit to basically state, for example, what do I want it to do? What do I want to call the agent? What company is actually managing this? What's my criteria that basically makes it so that these opportunities are qualified as part of that process? I can define account. I can add all the different filters that are related to it. And basically what this agent will do is it will run in the background to basically take those opportunities and then do that qualification process that you define. And then you can do, for example, what is the assessment information? What key fields are going to drive, for example, the value or the close date? Because maybe you've customized that a little bit inside of your environment. So it even allows you to actually make the agent smarter by basically then incorporating that, as well as even some of the research information that you may have in your research insights that you configure inside of the system. So once again, another way for an agent to really then interact with your environment to drive business forward.